Welcome to the Wandering Tangent Podcast. I'm BJ, with me is Gary, and look who decided to come back! It's Jeff!
Yes,
Return for more abuse. Yes.
He left us.
Jeff came
More
back.
wild and insane
Jeff came
antics.
back, and while we were talking about a review, I said something about 2 weeks, and Jeff's like, what do you mean 2 weeks? I'm like, Jeff, the episode gets published every 2 weeks. He's like, what? He takes one episode off, and he's like, I don't get it.
We have a schedule? What? Okay.
We podcast. How long? What?
And you
Yes.
two had
the
to
videos just appear.
Yes,
to
Jeff.
nerd out over subject matter that was way beyond my expertise, way beyond that. It must have been like an epic moment to be able to talk about Warhammer and stuff.
One day
Must
I
have
will
been.
drag you into it, Jeff. But
Yeah. One day.
but this is not that day.
So, Gary, one thing I wanted to say but didn't want to say during our review, because we're trying to keep those relatively concise, but
Yes.
you said that Eight-Legged Freaks, which is the movie which is, I guess, inspiring this discussion,
Yes.
because I don't know if these discussions are really based on the movies that we review anymore. They just kind of, we start there and see where things go.
Yeah.
Anyway, you said that this was your movie.
Yes.
I thought Dune 84 was your movie.
so.
Do you have more than one movie?
You could have more than one movie, BJ. You could have a lot of movies that are your movies, right? They're the things you turn to when you're in that particular mood. If I'm in the mood for a creature feature, this is the movie I turn to. If I'm in the mood for some sort of epic science fiction, epic science fiction space opera, I don't go to Star Wars or Star Trek or any of that stuff. I go to Dune. If I'm in the mood for
I can feel Jeff quaking on the other side of the internet because you just said that. You don't go to Star Wars or Star Trek?
yeah, because
No,
that
I
stuff is
understand.
kind of,
There are other human
Yeah.
beings that live in this world, and they're not identical to me. I comprehend it.
And so it's really hard for you person to say, for instance, what's your favorite food? Because people's mood depends, right? But if you were to boil it down to say, I don't know, what's your favorite Chinese food? Or what's your favorite kind of pizza? Or what's your favorite kind of snack? It'd be real easy for you to say, what's your favorite kind of pizza? Keep it simple. I like it pepperoni. What's your favorite snack? I like Twinkies. Stuff like that. What's your favorite movie is kind of hard to say, but what's your favorite creature feature?
You like
Eight-Legged
Twinkies?
Freaks. Yes, I love Twinkies. They're
That's good. I actually like Twinkies as well, but I'm not hugely into chocolate. But if you're going to settle on a candy bar, Twinkies is an excellent... Yeah, first tangent. About
Jeff, what is a Twinkie?
I was going to say, are Twinkies really a candy bar?
Oh,
Aren't they
dang
like
it.
a
I was
snack
thinking of
cake?
Twix, wasn't I?
You were thinking
Okay,
of Twix.
I was thinking of-
Twinkies
My brain
is
has set
sponge
sail
cake.
for the
Oh.
Western lands. Seriously.
What
Okay, no,
can
you said
see
Twinkies.
on the horizon? Yes, he said Twinkies.
Yes, Twinkies, Jeff. It's that, yellow sponge cake with cream filling that has absolutely
Okay.
zero chocolate in it.
And probably packed
I
full
was-
of nutrients, right?
I was really, really wondering how he got the chocolate from Twinkies. I was like, what?
Yes, I have,
Oh, yeah.
But-
I was thinking of Twix, but
Okay.
no.
but no, Twinkies.
Yes,
It's-
they do. They do to both start with a T. And
Yes.
that's about it.
That is about it. No,
Yeah.
BJ. I will give him. They also have the second letter of W and the third letter of I. And that's where the similarity completely ends.
So,
Except for maybe the sugar content.
yes.
Okay. 4 things in common.
I'll say no.
But after that,
After that, I
Jeff,
kind of...
I've
It's
got
like
it.
after that, I kind of... It's like after that, I kind of want to watch Zombieland for some reason. I don't know.
Oh, that's a nice one,
I haven't seen Zombieland in ages. Anyway,
But
uh,
I definitely
I was-
feel for the guy in that one. When you travel outside of the United States, sorry, tangent. It's in the name of the podcast.
it's
But
in the
anyways.
name. It's on the tin.
When you travel outside of the United States, they don't have Twinkies out there, right? One would
They
say
can't
because
go
they have
across the border.
standards. Others
Yeah,
would
standards,
others would
exactly.
say because they just don't know what they're missing. That's my view. But
Twinkies spontaneously combust if they leave the continental United States.
here's the thing. They don't. As much as people say Twinkies last forever, they don't. They really don't. And nobody ships them anywhere, right? It's not worth it. So Twinkies are very much a here thing. And if you go to other places, they have other things, right? Don't get me wrong. What they have in other places is good, but it's not a Twinkie. And so you go there and you're like, but I want a Twinkie. They have this. I've been to Europe and they have amazing baked goods, but they're not Twinkies. And so I'm like, but I wanted a Twinkie.
It's not my
Just
incredibly
upset.
processed snack cake.
It's not my processed snack cake. I wanted a Twinkie. I know that your baked delicacy there is probably going to be absolute heaven in my mouth. But what if I wanted this processed snack cake that was just absolutely awful for me? What if I was in the mood for that at this point?
I think this
Anyways.
discussion goes right in line with the movie Eight-Legged Freaks.
It really does. It completely does, Jeff. It absolutely
So-
fits.
Okay, so I poked a question at Gary. So now I'm going to poke a question at Jeff. So Jeff, you gave this movie a 1, which indicates that at the very least, you did not think badly of it, or at least not too badly. You liked it more than you did not.
I had to push myself to give it a 1. I wanted to give it to 0. But,
Okay, but still.
yeah. Still. So you want me to say why?
Well, what I was wondering is, why did you more or less give this one a pass when you hated Van Helsing, for example?
That is a very good question. The tone, I think, was the violating part of it. Van Helsing is the tone of that movie, I think, missed its mark, where it was supposed to be not really, you can disagree if you want, but I don't think Van Helsing was supposed to be truly campy. I think it was more of an adventure story with some quirky comedic scenes, but not really campy. So to me, it was just off. And there's a few things in there that were just too ridiculous to even fall into the realm of campy for me or anything else. It's just, yeah. There was yeah.
So Eight-Legged Freaks did not, you were able to, what's the word? You were able to suspend your sense of disbelief better.
Yes, because of the tone was more of a match. So at the very beginning...
Despite of the giant spiders, the fact that the trapdoor spiders somehow dug like 24 trapdoor spiders managed to dig holes in the ground if no one saw, and the thing that maybe scratched my head the most, the fact that in a rural Arizona mining town, the only people who had guns were the police.
That is
actually, yeah,
real
like
question,
the tone.
BJ. That is a real question.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck
But-
is up with that? You know,
Mhm.
I mean, it is a Hollywood movie, so like
it is.
guns scary. in
They had
California.
hockey masks and chainsaws. They were prepared for something. at
As-
least. And pitchforks.
As someone who spent some amount of time working in this spook alley as the chainsaw maniac and in the maze, chainsaws are terrible weapons. They're heavy. They're
Even-
awkward.
It even kind of shows that in the movie. Like, the guys with the chainsaws are like, don't do much.
I mean, most of the townies don't do much. I mean,
That's true.
I'm about to really put on my nerd hat here and push my glasses up. What they should have done is that they should have
How they should have mounted their defense.
it's
Defending
like what
a
they should have
shopping
done
mall
is that they should
against
have
spiders.
is that they all should have gone to like the garden shop and like all gun like pitchforks or something and made like a spear wall.
Mm-hmm. Like a Roman legion.
I don't know what that would have done much against the
It would have done more.
the tarantula was basically a tank.
I mean, that's what the guns are for.
And they shot
Yes.
the tarantula and it barely noticed. So
Did they really shoot the tarantula?
Yeah, he did
I'm-
when it was tipping over the radio.
Yeah, but wasn't he shooting at like just the pistol?
Yeah, he was shooting just the pistol, but okay, so the pistol. So, all right, let me explain.
Okay.
As the weapons expert on this particular group of people, right?
I was about to say the resident gun nerd, but I don't know if you quite qualify as a gun nerd.
No, I do not qualify near.
You are at the very least the most knowledgeable about firearms among
Yes.
the three of us.
So, in the movie, they had 3 weapons, right? 3 kinds of weapons, 3 broad categories,
Yes.
right? You had your pistols, you had your shotguns, and you had a few rifles. The one that would have had the most penetrating capability would have been the rifle, right?
Mhm.
Its rounds could dig deep and get through the heavier
Heavy
carapace,
exoskeleton.
right? But
Mhm.
it only has like the one little ball of metal, right? As opposed to the shotgun, which the way they presented it, well, actually, the way they presented it, those shotguns ended up being like sniper rifles, because I have no idea how they would, shoot something so far away. Because what a shotgun is supposed to be is it's supposed to shoot a whole bunch of small balls, like just a small, like a little nugget of small balls, and those small balls spread out in a
To
pattern,
be fair,
right?
they could have been firing slugs.
They could have been firing slugs. They didn't. But the advantage of shooting the shot, that's why it's called shotgun, is because those little balls are called shot. The advantage of shooting shot as opposed to slug is that the shot has a spread pattern and it's able to hit with a lot less required accuracy, right? So people who aren't as good of a shot have better chance of hitting, say for instance, small moving targets like, I don't know, spiders. But that would be something you'd be shooting at something relatively close. And then of course there's the pistol, and the pistol shoots yet again one small metal ball, right? And it just doesn't fire it as fast as the rifle does, but then again, the pistol is something small and handheld, right? It doesn't weigh as much as the rifle. It doesn't have as much kick as the rifle. It's a lot less accurate than the rifle, and it's a lot slower of a shot, but it's a lot more convenient. So that's why you see people carrying pistols around as opposed to rifles. It's a lot more comfortable to carry a pistol. Let me just say.
And again, to be fair, this is, as stated before, this movie was not intended to be a realistic depiction of firearms, because there are many times when they were shooting at spiders that were just above people, which is
yes, with shotguns.
probably something you don't want to do IRL.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you don't want to be
You
shooting.
got the whole MOA thing, minute of accuracy, minute of accuracy.
Yeah, it's the scene where the 2 people that has spider webs all over them and they're attached to the wall, and then they storm in and shoot this spider that is right in front of them. That seems very dangerous. But I guess getting eaten by a spider would also be a high risk too, so kind of have to make the best choice.
On the other hand, I will give something. So this is probably unintentional, but it is a thing. When she shoots the spider that's on top of, shortly after that scene, Jeff, that you were talking about, she shoots a spider that's on top of the cop car, right?
Yep.
That one's actually kind of accurate in that, so momentum of shot, the shot starts to lose momentum after a very short period of time, right? It's still more than enough to deal with a person, but I have participated. It was a training exercise. Someone just wanted to show us what would happen. shotgun, or the shot from a shotgun, has a particular problem dealing with a car at that kind of range. Even the thin material of a car. Pistols goes right through. Rifles goes definitely right through. Shotgun, you'd probably maybe scrape your windshield and scrape up your paint job, but apart from that, you'd be okay. So, thumbs up right there. Anyways,
So shooting the spider off the roof of the car.
Yeah, that's fine.
That one's fine. Okay.
That one's fine.
Yes, I'm sure that was all part of the plan. Oh yes, this is a truly... I'm fine with this part, said the on-set expert.
Yeah,
because of the exact same reasons that Gary said. I'm sure that totally happened.
No, that's completely not what happened, considering everything else that they do in that movie. You're right, BJ. There's like spiders jumping at people and someone shoots a shotgun right at the same person. But it's supposedly going to hit the spider right behind them.
It is spiders seeking shot.
Yes.
Very advanced.
Very advanced.
Very advanced.
So...
yeah.
Uh,
So, I don't get... There's a guy who's living in a... Maybe I'm thinking too much into this, but there's a guy who's living in basically a dirt shack in this town, and yet he's able to have more than enough money to afford all of these exotic spiders. And what did he say? Something like he had to bribe a dozen border agents to get to get a mating pair of exotic spiders up from South America. Like, what?
oh.
Well, there are
it's-
people who have private collections of wild animals, and they might, in some cases, be operating outside the law when they do it. There has been some documented times where that's happened. Anyway, so it's plausible,
maybe that
right?
maybe that was just where he kept the spiders, not where he quote unquote lived. I don't know.
The guy's clothes were literally rags on his body. Yeah, I mean, admittedly, if a person has a passion, that's what they care about. They don't care about anything else, right? But still,
Was it a museum that he had?
Yeah, it's supposedly a museum, but I don't see him having
A museum that had nobody go into it
Yeah.
to
Well,
see anything.
Well, the what's her name? Sam, the sheriff. She refers to it as a spider farm, and to be entirely fair, what's his name? Joshua, the spider guy. He exists as a plot device to explain why there are hundreds of spider. Words. Why, where, who, what, how? What word am I looking for? Holy cow.
Why?
Why?
Why there
He's
were
there
spiders
to
there.
explain why. Yes, why. There we go. Why there are hundreds of exotic spiders in this small Arizona town, because, there's not enough scary arachnids regularly in a desert environment, right?
Well, part of the charm of this movie is how little effort they put into starting the catastrophe. It just happens to be a barrel of toxic waste that happens to fall in this particular place.
And like, I know it's a trope, but like, is there
It's all caused by a little fluffy rabbit that was on the road.
like, in universe for all these movies, is there like a factory that like makes faulty, rusty steel barrels specifically for toxic waste?
Yeah. It's just a contract that's awarded to the lowest bidder.
Is there like some government mandate? All toxic waste must be stored in pre-rusted barrels. Because it happens in every single one of these movies.
It does seem rather convenient. It is very much a trope, BJ. I think we're definitely overthinking everything. I'm overthinking this guy.
That's actually one of my favorite things about the movie, was just how simple and ridiculous it was that everything began. That's I think one of the best things. It's so incredibly simple and lacks any kind of detail to make it plausible, which makes it great. It fits into the campy tone that the movie was going for. Yeah, I did like that.
I was like, that's the thing I said during the review is that my brain couldn't land on like what kind of tone this movie was going for. And I think the scene that sort of exemplifies it the most is I forget what they were driving away from, but it's like the little kid that has all the answers is in the back of the car, and he's like watching. I assume he's watching some kind of spiders eat some kind of people, and he's like, "Oh, it's Arachna, blah blah blah, blah, the orb weaver," and he's like smiling, all excited about it. I'm like, "Kid, are you okay?"
Yeah, you're literally seeing people get,
It's like,
eaten.
yay! I know this spider species. It'd be like in Jurassic Park if someone was like, yay, Velociraptor, as someone gets eaten, right?
Nerds get excited over nerd things. It's part of being a nerd.
Was I the only one that saw that and thought it was weird?
Well,
I guess
a
it didn't
lot of
click for you
things.
guys.
Well, the thing is, the tone didn't really come off as anything misunderstandable. Or not understandable is what I was supposed to say there. It was understandable to me. It's campy, it's quirky, everything's just thrown in there. It's not like this is a well thought in story, and it's intentionally done that way just because this is supposed to be a monster flick. And that all fits well for me. The thing that just didn't work, I think, is just the characters. There's not a lot to them. There's kind of a story where there's a son that wants to somehow save the town and bring back the mines and help everyone in the town live a good life with good jobs. And he feels that he needs to somehow redeem the reputation of his father because his father's goal was that, and he failed. So there's kind of a character line there, but at the same time, there's not a lot to him. The sheriff girl, she fights spiders. That's cool. Still, I guess she's a single mom who's also the sheriff, who's fighting spiders. It's dealing with the teenage daughter. So there are some things to it, but there's still not a lot to the characters. I would expect at least one really quirky, insane character as almost the comic relief, almost like you'd throw in like an exterminator or somebody who's wanting to do his job.
Now you're talking about
Arachnophobia. Arachnophobia had that, where you had one comedy relief character that was just, it's hilarious the way they do it in Arachnophobia.
I think that's what the DJ was supposed to be.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, and he was kind of funny. I mean, he's a paranoid. He had a few good lines that landed well. It's like, I'm not paranoid. I'm just worried about people following me. Yeah. And I like the idea that he's in this trailer broadcasting all these insane conspiracy theories. Still, his characters did seem kind of flat. They got that really good actor that was in Cool Runnings to play him. And he's funny. I just think they should have had some edgier lines for him. His lines didn't fully land for his character. I mean, he was crazy, but I would have...
Jeff wanted the movie to be edgier.
Yeah, I would want like major paranoid, delusional, crazy guy. I would want him...
Doug is the name of the actor. I was trying really hard to say Mark E. Mark because that is a different actor / rapper. I don't know why there's a naming convention of first name of name, the letter E, and then name again, but apparently at some point that was a thing. I am incredibly unhip, so I do not know.
So in defense of a lot of these characters, or caricatures as you guys have labeled them, I think that kind of fits with the theme. That's why I scored it so high. I think they wanted to establish them as caricatures as opposed to being characters, because then you would just kind of identify what they were, and you wouldn't have to think too much more into it, right? That's my personal take into it. You don't have to. You understand who these people are. There's the greedy town, kind of mayor slash biggest land or second biggest landowner. There's the son seeking redemption. There's the stuck up boyfriend. There's the teenage girl who's trying to, not trying to be, trying to go out on her own way, trying to be her own person, but then she finds out her mom's, right, that sort of thing. There's the town sheriff who used to be a weak person, but now she's found strength and she, rising to the occasion to try to, and there's a lot of that in this movie where there's like, it's caricatures, but that's okay, in my opinion, on that. Admittedly, I understand you guys don't like that, but, I like it for this movie. In another context, I would be like, okay, why do I have these stupid, simple caricatures? But in this particular one, it allows me to relax and just kind of enjoy what I'm watching. I don't have to overthink it, If I do start to think about it, I start to raise questions and whatnot, but that's, something entirely. I start to raise questions about that other stuff, but I don't. I just kind of relax because I can be like, oh, I'm just going to completely switch my brain off. There's no, and like you say about, suspension of disbelief, obviously spiders can't get that big. I understand that. Obviously guns
they can with toxic waste.
Guns don't work the way that they do in this movie. But Jeff, there is no impossible swinging from tower to tower that you just cannot get over, right? That's probably why this is more acceptable for you. There's no
like in Van Helsing.
Yeah, like in Van Helsing.
Where they certainly became an acrobatic circus.
Yes.
So, kind of getting back to Van Helsing for a second, since we were on the subject, Jeff was comparing to I thought about it, and I think the reason why I enjoy Van Helsing more than this movie, even though they are both pretty big camp fests, is that as someone who does unironically enjoy older creature features, I kind of appreciate the fact that Van Helsing at least pretends to play it a little straighter. Like, Eight-Legged Freaks is pretty much entirely tongue-in-cheek, more or less, the entire movie. Whereas Van Helsing, unlike Jeff, I am pretty sure they knew it was campy, but they still kind of tried to play it straight. Whereas in Eight-Legged Freaks, they know it's campy and that's what they're going for. And I can respect that. That's just not my preferred thing, I guess. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it made sense to me.
And as we've discussed about comedy yet again, if comedy doesn't land, then that can be torturous.
Well,
so
I'm not going to say the comedy was torturous. Some of the comedy is pretty sophomoric.
Yeah.
Sophomoric? Okay.
Well, there's the point where she tasers the guy in his crotch, and then he ends up, peeing his pants, and so that
was another favorite part of mine. To be honest,
his two friends start making fun of him for it, and he's just like, "We got to run away." But anyways,
and then there's the part where I think the deputy is escaping through a store in the mall. And he knocks over a mannequin, and they make a point to show the mannequin's head landing in the crotch of another mannequin because that's funny.
BJ, you're right. The comedy doesn't.
I'm not saying and again, I'm not saying all the comedy is bad. I was not writhing in my seat as I was in, say, just the eternal wellspring of hate that is
Dr. Strangelove. Yes,
Dr.
I understand.
Strangelove and the Burbs.
Okay.
The wellspring of hate of you guys towards me for not liking the Burbs.
Well, I can understand a person, and while I can understand a person not appreciating Doctor Strangelove, you will earn my eternal ire for not liking The Burbs. But having said that, it sounds like some of the comedy landed for you on this one. At least half, maybe more?
At the very least, it did not actively annoy me. You know, I can't point out I can't say if there's like a certain scene that made me laugh, but but I also outside of the scenes we have already mentioned, I can't think of anything that really made me roll my eyes or actively cringe. And also, again, to be fair, this movie it's not just a straight comedy. It does have some horror elements, so it's not just trying to be funny, which probably helps. As compared to, say, The Burbs and Doctor Strangelove, well, where trying to be funny is the whole point.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of the just a tiny bit of that action where they're, shooting shotguns wildly at spiders as they,
And giant spiders that make oddly cute noises.
Yeah.
I did laugh when they started playing Itsy Bitsy Spider, like the song and some of the musical score. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, that was pretty clever. I will give him that. That was like the theme of the tarantula. It's like this really deep, like string-based version of Itsy Bitsy Spider.
Yes. I appreciated, I don't know why the Lee Harvey Oswald gun showed up and they made mention of it multiple times. I think that's just kind of a nod to the character who's a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
That he would end up in a town. It's almost like he's a conspiracy theorist for aliens, right? Yeah. And yet so many other conspiracies are happening around him that he's completely oblivious to. Like, toxic waste, giant spiders, all kinds of other stuff. Lee Harvey Oswald's rifles. Like, why is that there? What else is going on in this town that isn't being talked about? That it almost leads me to, if I ever wanted to switch my brain on for this movie and start to look, maybe I would find other things that would clue me in as to maybe there's a lot more going on in this town than I originally thought. But then again, that'd require me actually thinking about this movie, which,
and the deep backstory of whatever town is. Isn't that
Prosperity?
Yeah.
Arizona? Anyways.
Isn't that like the whole... there was some podcast that a different mutual friend outside of Gary recommended us once in time. Is it Welcome to Night Vale? Something like that?
Something like that.
I enjoyed it when it was just a fake newscast of strange things happening in this weird town, but then eventually it got a plot, and the plot wasn't great, so it lost me. So, anyway.
I do like some of the setup. They have a town that has had all of these ideas to make a lot of money, and they've all just failed terribly. They built this really lavish mall in a town that had nowhere near the population to support a retail space like that. And so it's a big vacant mall, which is a perfect setup for the final battle. So that's funny. And then you had the ostrich thing that they complained about. So there is some setup and some setting stuff that I thought were well written. I just think that the payoff wasn't as big because the characters are a little flat, and then there's the battle scenes. I guess they were all right, but it's just lacking something. I think that it didn't come back with like a big, huge climactic battle or anything.
Well,
something that the audience was thinking was supposed to be there wasn't there.
I don't think it was really supposed to be a climactic battle because as mentioned before, it's a bunch of townies that grab whatever's in the mall because the only people who have guns are the cops.
Yeah. So you need to give the audience something big. It needs to be either a big battle, a big laughing moment, a big scary moment.
Except they,
something.
BJ, they did give a gun, the rifle specifically, to a guy who was, who had required multiple pairs of glasses just to functionally see. So, that's a question right there. I mean, I've got glasses, right? All of us wear glasses.
Yes.
But
yes, I was going to say, I think all of us wear corrective lenses,
But his glasses were on a completely different level, right? So
I don't know if I've ever shared a story from my long experience in retail. May I share a story from my long experience in retail?
Go for it.
Please do.
So I forget if I was straight cashiering or working back in customer service, but this customer comes up and she starts ranting and raving because I'm legally blind and I'm having trouble reading this and reading that, and you guys aren't making any, any concessions, any accommodations, that's the word. You guys aren't giving me blah blah blah. So I'm like, okay, need me to read something for you or anything? So this kind of goes back and forth. She's just mad and wants to rant. I'm pretty sure she ended with, well, I'm never going to shop here again. She digs in her purse. The lady who says she's legally blind grabs her car keys and walks out the store. I'm like, do I need to call someone? Because this lady who says she's legally blind while wearing glasses just grabbed car keys. Is she in danger?
No.
Am I in danger? Are the people out there on the road in danger?
I think the only thing that was in danger was that 5 minutes of your time being wasted by someone who really just wanted to waste someone else's time and, rile somebody else up.
As someone who has worked a long time in retail, I will say that about 3 years ago, I came up with a theory that explains the behavior of those kinds of people, because I will say that like 95% of the people who come through are just people, right? It's that
they just want to give you money and take stuff away in a roughly equal amount.
Yes, it's that 5% that make working with the public often a nightmare. But I came up with the theory that if you just pretend that the only thing these people want to accomplish is to waste as much time for as many other people as possible, their behavior makes a lot more sense. I don't know if you ever worked with the public, Gary. I know Jeff spent some amount of time in retail before y'all went and got real jobs. I have.
Every job is a real job. If you suffer, it's a real job.
I have. Despite efforts, I have not broken out of the retail sphere just yet, but...
I mean, eventually you will, but it's one of those...
I mean, someday I will die, and ergo I will break out of the retail sphere, so...
I think that... Go ahead, Gary.
No. I understand what you mean, BJ. I worked so very hard in my life to not have to deal with people. It's just so exhausting. So very exhausting to deal with people. I can do my job. I can work excessive overtime at my job and not care. Well, I'll care, but whatever, right? I'll deal with it. But you make me work with people, especially random people over the course of a day. Lots of random people over the course of the day. I don't know if I could handle that, BJ. And honestly, my hat is off to you for being able to bravely withstand the torment of that.
Well, I'm just over here laughing because I think we established in the episode that Jeff's missed that somehow you are the most socializing of us.
Gary is?
'Cause- Yes.
Yeah, I get that. I know, I
Gary
get it.
leaves his
I
house
think
and
it's
plays
true.
Warhammer with people. I leave my house occasionally. You leave your house never.
Yeah.
We
Yes,
had to threaten you to leave your house to go see Godzilla -1.
I have to be forced out of my house. I have to have threats made against me. Then I might leave.
Yes, Jeff, I on a regular basis do go out into the world and hang out with people outside of my house and outside of my family, and outside of this friend group. It's an interesting thing to do, and I can deal with it on very short, over very short periods of time, in groups of people who have similar interests as mine. It's very liberating. You should try to accomplish that in your own life, in my opinion. I think it's something that it's very enlightening, and it starts
Gary
to build
annually
social
leaves the
structures.
state to do this.
Yes, I leave the state to do this. It builds social structures.
But those are with
Um,
people that you have some things in common with.
Well,
Yeah.
well, yes, it's people that also play Warhammer.
Yes,
But
we
my-
talk about that kind of stuff and other nerdy things.
My analysis of what BJ said is that I think it comes down to the fact that the 21st century is such a wonderful, comfortable time to live in that people are just bored. They don't know what to do with themselves. They don't know what to do with all this prosperity and comfort and opportunity. They don't. So they must find some piece of drama somewhere to make life unstable and more chaotic and more...
I disagree. People.
Okay.
I do not think that retail suddenly became horrible to work just in the last 20 years. I believe dealing with the public has been a ongoing trial for many people for as long as retail has existed. In fact, I forget where I heard this, but it seems like in a lot of cases when they find like ancient inscriptions on stuff, it's like receipts. And like people saying, "Oh yeah, I will totally pay you for this. I promise. I owe you."
Actually,
Yeah, no, that's true. Like old
I've
tablets.
heard that's
from,
one of the that is actually one of the oldest written. 'Cause there's a
cuneiform,
joke,
I
right?
think it's called. Yeah.
There's a joke, right? About, well, it's not a joke. Well, okay, so there's a saying, right, where there's 3 times that you die. First is when you actually physically die. The second one is when your last friend dies, and the third one is when the last person who knows who you are dies, right? So apparently there is or the last record of you is destroyed. That's the last time you die, right? So basically nobody knows who you are or who you were. So there's this record of this guy, and apparently it's the first time someone gave a bad review of a person that's ever recorded in history. There's apparently this copper merchant who gave like the person who's writing about him is telling everybody that this copper merchant is just basically a horrible copper merchant and never trust him. He, gives back bad merchandise or something like that. And, this tablet is over 3,000 years old, and that's what this guy is known for. And he will, like,
Yeah.
thousands of years later, his name is still known as being a bad copper merchant.
And as someone who has worked retail for not quite 3,000 years, I'm willing to say it's a 50-50 chance that the guy who left a bad review was just a jerk.
Probably. All right. So I hate to cut, but I'm starting to smell amazing things my wife is cooking. So could I ask for this to start to be?
Yes. No, I think
yeah.
I've said everything I needed to say. Somehow there's something missing from the movie, and I've kind of tried to explain what that was, but honestly, I don't fully know. I think there's something lacking in characters. Maybe it's just not campy enough. Maybe they just didn't descend into the realm of campiness quite enough for it to be better. and the audience didn't like it. But in the end, it's still kind of a movie that's worth maybe one watch once. And yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I obviously like it.
Yeah. It's okay.
BJ somewhere in the middle. Closer to Jeff than me.
Like, I don't know if we really need to talk about the movie at the end of the discussion, because I feel like this discussion was way more tangent than not, which is kind of the whole point of breaking off the long-form discussion away from the review.
Yeah.
Just tangent in peace, because we kind of get it out of the way. But whatever. We're still figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so any last thoughts?
Nope.
Wait, that's my line.
I
dare
stole
you.
BJ's line.
How dare you? You leave us first, and then you steal BJ's
First you
line.
leave,
And then
then you... First you leave, and you come back and like, what do you mean every 2 weeks? Now you're still in my line. Holy crap.
It's a good line.
I know, I've been saying it for 2 years. Oh. Next thing you know, he's going to be like, okay, I have the audio edited, BJ.
You can
make the
steal
video."
my lines, BJ. You can steal them all.
No, because I can't monologue about nothing for 8 minutes. That's your line. Is just
I want to
going
hear
off
that. I want to hear a BJ monologue for 8
in
minutes.
the beginning. There was primordial ooze, and from the ooze came single-cell organisms, but then came multiple-cell organisms.
You guys still haven't heard that monologue. You
We
rejected
heard
it
enough of
straight
it.
out. You heard 10 seconds of it, and we're like, no,
No,
make
you-
it die. Never speak it.
Because we knew you were just warming up, so we had to stop it.
Okay, yeah.
I sat next to you in history class, Jeff. I know you didn't pay that much attention.
I was the only one to... Go ahead.
I don't have anything else to contribute. And I smell amazing things that my wife is cooking.
Okay, I think...
All right.
Okay, I think we hit all the bases. Me and Jeff yelled at each other. There was an awkward silence after...
Yeah, I think that hits all of our requirements, right?
I almost started laughing in the review because we planned who was going to talk first, because I forget. I think it was Jeff saying it. I don't want to pause after Jeff's intro.
I don't like awkward pauses.
And then there was a pause anyway, so it just happens.
Yeah.
So, is it really an episode of Watching Tension Podcast if there's no awkward pause?
Awkward pause.
Awkward pause.
I'm so glad that no one talked for like a good 3 seconds there, because that just worked. Anyway, so I guess we're gonna let Gary leave and go eat. So yeah, I'm BJ. That was Jeff and Gary. We kind of talked about giant spiders, not really. Who knows? We will see you in... Don't give a specified time, because I'll just confuse Jeff again. We'll see you next time. Bye.